Hello, everyone, and many thanks for joining this stream. Today is 3rd of July. Now it's 1 o'clock, middle of the day by Moscow time. Late stream. Unfortunately, due to some technical reasons, I was unable to start a stream at 11 in the morning, as I usually do. But as I said, I had some reasons for that. And for example, maybe you already noticed that I'm using different camera. So I was setting up this camera, and hopefully it will work okay, and visual is better, and also maybe sound is little better. Don't know. I will check your response on that after this stream. So I have prepared quite a number of news, dear friends, for a news segment, and after a news segment, I will be engaged with the chat for, to have a little chat for 15-20 minutes. I will react on some questions. So therefore, if you have a question, dear friends, please use capital Q before the question, or maybe entire sentence will be in the capital letters so that I will notice it easier. And also let me make a little announcement of idea that are, I'm considering for a while, which is to basically launch once a week on Sundays, most likely to launch a fundraising stream with the task to raise about $150 to $200 for next week, so that I will be a little less stressed while working on this project. I said quite a few times before that currently whatever support I'm receiving from Patreon and Boosty is about enough to pay for rent, and for the rest, I'm fully relying on donations. And well, with donations, you just never know. One day you might have donation, next day don't, and therefore, on Sundays I will launch a fundraising stream until we will reach that ceiling of $150 or $200, and I don't know. It's gonna be quite difficult because stream is quite a stressful stuff, but hopefully it will work out. Stream might last for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hours, maybe more potentially, but if it will help me to maintain this project and to be fully focused on the development of these programs, then it's worth it. So what is your take on that, dear friends? Will it work? No, I'm interested in your opinion, because you are my employees, right? A community of ours. So that's been said, dear friends, let's start today's stream and news segment of it. And I want to begin this news segment with this report that according to Economist, US suspends all arms supplies to Ukraine. Yesterday I reported during the first stream, and also during the second news update that I published on Patreon and Boosty pages, that there was reports about partial suspension of certain weapons supplies to Kiev regime, mainly air defense missiles and guided missiles. But later on, additional information become available, additional reports that US is actually suspending all arms supplies whatsoever. Obviously, Russian media outlets did pay attention to this. And for example, this is TASS's report that US authorities have stopped deliveries of all types of weapons and munition to Ukraine. This was reported by the Economist magazine, citing Ukrainian officials. According to according to Ukrainian officials, they are associating these actions by Washington with their knocking out political concessions from Kiev, as well as the case in March after the squabble of White House between US President Donald Trump and Vladimir Zelensky. Well, I don't know if current decisions in White House are connected with that row that Trump and Zelensky had. Also, J.D. Vance, vice president, in Oval Office in White House. But I already see in the comment sections, by the way, some optimistic claims from people all over the world that maybe America First forces finally regain initiative in the White House. That would be good, of course. That would be good, but I'm not as optimistic, unfortunately. I mean, we have to wait and see what is going on, because simultaneously with these reports about suspension of arms supplies to Ukraine, we also have quite a number of indicators to conclude that Washington might actually further escalate with Russia. Not de-escalate, but further escalate. So therefore, it is difficult to have a clear reading of the picture right now in regards to this topic. But yet again, US officials are actually confirming for now suspension of the military aid to Kiev. We have this report on RT, for example, that US is suspending its supply of weapons to Ukraine as a part of its America First policy. Washington's envoy to NATO, Matthew Whitaker, has told the Fox Business America needs to make sure it has enough air defense systems in its own arsenal before anything else, he stated. And once again, dear friends, according to reports, US is suspending, allegedly, weapon supplies to Kiev regime completely, not just our air defense systems, but whatever weapons were promised. Nothing is going to Ukraine. But yet again, this is all speculation still, I believe. More time is needed and more information for a more clear picture. Meanwhile, according to TASS news agency, Ukraine has not yet received notification from the US about the cessation of arms supplies. We have reported that Ukraine has not yet received official confirmation from the American side about the cessation of supplies of Patriot air defense missiles and the number of other weapons. This was stated by Fyodor Venislavsky, member of the Verkhovnaya Rada Committee on National Security, Defense and Intelligence. Verkhovnaya Rada is, of course, parliament in Ukraine. And meanwhile, Kiev regime summoned U.S. embassy staff in connection with this topic. So Ukraine has summoned the U.S. charged the affairs in Kiev, John Ginkel. I don't know what that position even means, by the way. U.S. charge the affairs in Kiev. I don't know. Staff member of U.S. Embassy, John Ginkel, following reports that Washington has suspended deliveries of key weapon systems. Military experts and Western officials all warn that the country cannot sustain conflict in the short term without continuing military support. And a number of Western media outlets actually claimed, based on this information about suspension of U.S. weapons deliveries, that Kiev regime's forces might last only before end of this summer, if with current weapons they have, and with whatever assistance European NATO members are providing. That's how vital for survivability of the Kiev regime and its armed forces, U.S. weapon supplies are. And yet again, let's see how things are gonna develop. Press spokesman of the Russian president, Dmitry Peskov, commented on the matter and made a statement that less weapons Kiev regime will receive, sooner this conflict will end, which is true, which is absolutely true, by the way. If collective West countries under leadership of US did not get engaged in this proxy war against Russia, then this conflict will end in April, May of 2022. And as we all remember, dear friends, due to negotiations in 2022, in March, April, between Russian delegation and the Kiev regime's representatives, initially in Belarus, then in Turkey, in Istanbul, even agreements were reached, preliminary agreements, but still were reached by sides to end their hostilities, but then globalist control regimes in UK, in US, US at the time was controlled by globalists completely, by the way, because obviously Democrats are assets of the globalists, and so they went in, right? They sent their representatives into Kiev from US. I believe high-ranking officials from CIA and Pentagon, also State Department, went into Kiev. From UK, at the time, Prime Minister Boris Johnson himself traveled to Kiev to derail these talks between Moscow and the Kiev regime, and unfortunately they did it successfully, and since then so much destruction and the death did occur due to this involvement of the collective Western countries. But nevertheless, Peskov definitely has a point in his statements. Less weapons Kiev regime will receive from NATO member states. Soon this conflict will end. No questions about that. And on this matter also, dear friends, we have reports that, Germany now is being considered by European NATO member states as a main donor for Western-backed terrorist regime of Zelensky, and the European NATO member states are actually going to use Germany as a piggy bank, sort of, to further finance this proxy war against Russia and finance also weapon deliveries. And Germany not even denies this. German state-financed media, so-called media outlet Deutsche Welle, for example, reports that Germany is taking over as the main sponsor of the war in Ukraine, replacing the United States. And by the way, this is reported by Deutsche Welle, right? They have no shame, isn't it? They have no shame. They have no love. They don't love their own country, their own people, clearly, because how are you going to be happy about your country and taxes of your people being used as a sort of a piggy bank by the globalists or whomever? I don't get it, But Deutsche Welle stuff is something extraordinary, I guess, right? They hate probably their own country and their own people. To continue, dear friends, we have this report from TASS News Agency, which is based on Defense Ministry's latest update from this morning, that Russian armed forces liberated Milovoye settlement and Razina settlement in the DPR and Kharkov region. Let me show you on the map these areas, dear friends. So when it comes to Milovoye, it's somewhere here, I believe, right on the border. Yes, this is the settlement, by the way, which is under Russian control. And previously, by the way, on this part of border between Russian Federation and the Kharkov region, there was no active military operations conducted. And because Russian troops went in and cleared this settlement from enemy forces, that might be an indicator that maybe Russian troops will begin creating a buffer zone this direction also. And when it comes to another settlement that was liberated, Razina settlement that was liberated in DPR, well, this is the Razina settlement, relatively small village, but very important one right now due to the situation on the line of contact. Because if you take a look, dear friends, from Razina, Mirnograd is just 1-2 kilometers away, and if Russian troops are already in control of this settlement, that means process of encirclement of across Mirnograd agglomeration is further accelerating, right? And I guess it will take maybe few more weeks, and all supply and support lines of the garrison, the regime's garrisons in Pokrovsk and Mirnograd, will be under direct Russian fire control. Significant progress of the Russian armed forces in this direction. And in addition, dear friends, let me also give you information that according to reports, Russian armed forces established full control over the Nikolaevka settlement, which is also DPR on the southern western side of Chisov Yar. And well, I guess one may argue that battle for Chisov Yar has ended. There are some small groups in vicinity of Chisov Yar itself, small groups of Kiev regime's forces that are continuing to fight, but basically city mainly is under full Russian control now, and at any day we might receive report from Russian Defense Ministry that battle for Chisov Yar has ended and city is completely liberated from enemy forces. This might happen today, tomorrow, at any point now, because clearly, slowly but surely, Russian troops were improving their positions in this area. Battle for Chisov Yar lasted for many months. It was a very difficult battle, but as we all were expecting, battle is ending with Russian victory. To continue, dear friends, let's talk about this report that I shared on my Telegram and Twitter X page that, well, according to several sources, a warehouse with the Western weapons, including cruise missiles, exploded in Zhytomyr, which is controlled currently by the terrorist regime of Zelensky. And there was a huge explosions, by the way. Officially, we don't have any confirmations that it was a military warehouse or what exactly exploded. Kiev regime is keeping quiet about it. But let's take a look at the videos, by the way, from the side. What is also interesting, according to reports, there were no air raid alert at the time of explosion. So therefore, maybe either Russian DRGs were operating in the area and destroyed this warehouse or munition depot, or maybe there was some human error on part of Kiev regime's forces, and as a result of that error, this explosion happened. But just take a look at the video, by the way. It was a really massive explosion. Look at it, man. Huge explosion. And there is another video also. So according to some reports that I see, all the buildings, all the warehouses in that area of explosion were completely eliminated. That's how massive these explosions were. And well, during the day, probably we will receive some more information. But yet again, it is interesting that according to reports, there was no air raid alert at the time of these explosions. If preliminary information is correct and the Kiev regime lost significant number of Western weapon systems, ammunition, and so on, including cruise missiles, well, that will be great news, I will say, for Russian side. Excuse me. Let's continue, and we have this interesting report from Vzglyad newspaper, which is based on information of TASS news agency that well, Kiev regime, since the beginning of 2025, lost 265,000 troops in the zone of special military operation and also in a Kursk salient area, while Kiev regime and NATO mercenaries were occupying some parts of, borderline parts of Kursk region. Colossal losses, isn't it? But let's go for some details here. So TASS calculations show a significant increase in the losses of the Ukrainian armed forces in the first 6 months of 2025, including both personnel and military equipment. Total losses of armed forces of Ukraine from January to June 2025 amounted to more than 265,000 servicemen killed and wounded. In June, according to reports from the Russian Ministry of Defense, the number of losses reached approximately 45,000, and that's in a single month, by the way. While over the previous 5 months, this figure was about 222,000 So combined losses in 6 months are more than 265,000, colossal number. And once again, whenever we are receiving information about losses on both sides, one should keep in mind that this would not happen if NATO countries did not get engaged, if collective West countries did not orchestrate coup d'etat in 2014 and did not use extremists basically to launch initially civil war in the eastern part of Ukraine, which eventually break away completely and after referendums become part of Russia. Nothing of this kind will happen if not the collective West and its destructive involvement, right? So colossal losses. It's a tragedy, by the way, obviously, isn't it? It's a tragedy for Russian world because vast majority of people that are living in that former Soviet Republic are Russians, are part of Russian world, and they've been sacrificed, by the way, by NATO countries to achieve their geopolitical goals. One of which is to, achieve strategical defeat of Russia. It's not going to happen, but that's what they are trying. In terms of military equipment, Ukrainian army has lost 13 aircraft in 6 months, 22 anti-aircraft missile systems, 69 multiple launch rocket systems, and almost 4,000 tanks and other armored vehicles. That is obviously infantry fighting vehicles, armored personnel carriers, armored carriers, trucks, and so on. So up to 4,000 different type of armored vehicles were destroyed. Also, 6,727 artillery pieces and mortars were destroyed. 7,800 units of special military vehicles and over 27,000 drones were destroyed. As a Vzгляд newspaper wrote the day before, the total losses of the Ukrainian armed forces in one day, previous day, amounted to 1,235 servicemen, 2 armored personnel carriers, and tank, 13 artillery pieces, 9 vehicles, and 13 electronic warfare systems, according to Defense Ministry's report. So colossal losses, by the way, colossal losses of manpower and military equipment on part of Kiev regime. No wonder collective West is losing this proxy war against Russia, and they're going to lose 100%. I mean, veterans of argument, that I never had even slightest doubts that Russia will emerge victorious in this war that West is waging against us. And probably you are interested in how Russian army is doing. And yesterday, former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev and current deputy chairman of the Security Council, while meeting with the military leadership, stated that more than 210,000 soldiers, more than 210,000 citizens of Russian Federation signed a contract with the Russian armed forces and joined the military, which is a huge number, isn't it? This is people that voluntarily joining Russian armed forces. It's a huge influx, isn't it? Every single month, 20, 30, 40,000 people are joining armed forces. And also, according to Medvedev, 18,000 people are volunteering without pay, by the way, just volunteering themselves to assist Russian armed forces to be engaged in a humanitarian activity and whatever activity is needed. So that's the situation, by the way. Russia definitely has huge reserves, and are able to constantly conduct rotations on a battlefield, which Kiev regime cannot do due to absence or significant lack of manpower. And obviously, this war fatigue, plays also a crucial role on part of Kiev regime's forces. And in many instances, they are fleeing positions after battle or two eventually they are just running away because they are just too tired, and they are unable to carry on. And there are also entire units, by the way. One should keep in mind that there is many instances when entire units of the Kiev regime forces, when Russian troops are approaching their strongholds, are contacting Russian militaries and are surrendering. Entire units. Vzglyad newspaper is also reporting that, according to Financial Times, by the way, British, that is, isn't it? Western, anyways, Western media outlet, Kiev might have been behind the recent oil tanker bombings. So there are a series of recent damages to oil tankers may be linked to actions of the Ukrainian intelligence services, the Financial Times reports. This media outlet, citing sources in the security sector, reports that Ukrainian special services might be behind these attacks. According to publication, initial information pointed to Ukraine's possible involvement in these sabotage acts. One of their security advisors said, initially, all signs are pointed to Ukraine. At the same time, experts emphasized that other versions cannot be ruled out, including the involvement of structures from Libya or other state players with their appropriate resources and their motives. And let's be real here, by the way, it's UK, it's a British Secret Services and their proxy Kiev regime, obviously. I spoke about this topic even yesterday, I believe, right? Or day before yesterday, many times, by the way. And there is a lot of indicators, a lot of evidences that United Kingdom is actively engaged in a terrorism against Russia, and they are using their proxy Kiev regime for that. London is definitely on offensive against Russia, and citizens of UK, by the way, should pay attention to this, because at one point Russia will retaliate and retaliate hard, and they should know that it was not us that initiated this. It was their own government, their own elites in UK that were engaged in terrorist attacks on Russia, all sorts of hostile actions, and obviously every country, by the way, in that situation, as Russia is right now, would have every legal reasons whatsoever to retaliate with and Russia will, let's say that way, by the way. Basically, Financial Times confirmed what I was talking about for so long now, isn't it? And dear friends, before I continue, let me remind you, if I may, that this media project exists only as long as it has your assistance and support. And if you like my work, if you want to support, you can do it through several means. You can subscribe to my Patreon page or page on Boosty, where I have extra content on a regular basis. And today, dear friends, finally we have some good weather, and I will make some additional content for Patreon and Boosty from city. So yes, I have always quite a number of extra content on Patreon and Boosty as my thank to community there that supports my work. Also, is internet okay? I'm not sure that internet is working properly, but also, dear friends, also you can support if you want to through with donations through PayPal or Boosty platforms. That platform, Boosty, by the way, is somewhat unique in this regard. You can subscribe to page there, like on Patreon, and also you can use your Boosty platform to donate. So there is an option of that. You can support with a crypto, and during the live stream, you can use a super chat feature on Rumble, and donate through that super chat feature, or become a premium subscriber. By the way, my channel is monetized on Rumble, so there is such opportunity there. All the links that I mentioned All the addresses are in the description box on this video, and after stream I will also pin the comment with links. Many thanks to everybody who supported, continues to support, and keeps me busy in this field of news and political commentary. Truly grateful. And let's continue, dear friends, with some more news. And let's continue with this reporter. I saw this news on DDJ Politics, by the way, channel, and I want to share it with you because and DDJ Politics on its parts share this information from Mint Press News. I'm not familiar with this channel, but report itself is very important, if true, by the way. Let's take this report with a sort of pinch of salt, right? Because its report is crazy. If true. So US Congress will vote on a bill to supply Israel with the B-2 bombers and the 30,000-pound bunker buster bombs. I mean, wow, isn't it? So US Congress, according to this report, will vote on a bill to supply Israel with the B-2 bombers, by the way. This is a stealth bombers, each costs some $2 billion. And never ever before there was even a consideration of transferring this bomber to any country, right? And when I saw this news, by the way, I was, I'm still struggling to believe that this is true, but maybe influence of Israel or Israeli lobby is such that they might actually force US lawmakers and US leadership in general to actually transfer B-2 bombers to Israel, which is, I don't know, man, this is crazy. The bipartisan bill, dubbed their Bunker Buster Act, would mean giving Israel aircraft worth $2 billion each, in addition to 30,000-pound GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrators that cost up to $20 million each. The Trump administration has already spent billions in US taxpayers' funds on Israel since Trump came to office. If the bill passes, it will give the power to a president to grant Israel the aircraft needed only their claim that Iran is pursuing nuclear weapons. Afterwards, Trump would simply need to give his justification to a Congress with no approval needed, based on this bill that US lawmakers are about to pass, by the way, or vote at least. Crazy, some crazy stuff there, but yet again, I have some doubts that US lawmakers went this far. I don't know, but maybe, because influence of Israeli lobby is tremendous, isn't it, in US? And also, dear friends, interesting report here that MI6 infiltrated global nuclear watchdog. What a surprise. So British intelligence operative allegedly infiltrated the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, to help coordinate Western sanctions against Iran. The Gray Zone wrote on Tuesday, and Gray Zone, dear friends, is a independent media outlet in alternative media. We all are familiar with the leading journalists of Gray Zone, Aaron Mater and Blumenthal, Max Blumenthal, a great journalists, by the way, that are providing great service to the world community. And they are behind this report. The outlet cited the leaked documents describing MI6 agent Nicholas Langman and his role within the UN watchdog. Langman's resume was reportedly found in a trove of leaked papers detailing the activities of Torchlight, UK intelligence cutout. He was allegedly linked to covering up British intelligence role in Princess Diana's death, and has been accused by Greek authorities of managing the abduction and the torture of Pakistani immigrants in Athens. His resume reportedly states that Langman also led larger interagency teams to identify and defeat the spread of nuclear, chemical, and biological weapons technology, including through support for their IAEA and their organization for the prohibition of chemical weapons, OPCW. Langman is said to have played a major role in organizing the sanctions imposed on Iran by building highly effective and mutually supportive relations across governments and with senior US, European, Middle, and Far Eastern colleagues for strategy between 2010 and 2012. He also claims credit for enabling the major diplomatic success of the Iranian nuclear and sanctions agreement. Langman's tenure at the UK Foreign Office Counter Proliferation Center coincided with the surge in Western sanctions and covert operations against Iranian scientists. During that period, Israeli assassinations and sabotage intensified, while the US and EU imposed sweeping economic penalties. So, well, for none of us, this information from Grayson is coming as a surprise, isn't it? I was saying, like, since forever, that IAEA, International Atomic Energy Agency, which is formerly UN watchdog, is infiltrated by Western secret services, not just British, but US secret services and Israeli secret services. IAEA is acting on behalf of globalists and Western regimes. It's just too obvious and very clear, isn't it? And same can be said about OPCW. It's just too many indicators of that, right? But nevertheless, of course, this report from Grayson is very important because it reinforces our reading of the big picture and our understanding of these so-called international organizations. Yet again, dear friends, I remind you that it was yesterday, isn't it, that President of Iran basically completely shut down Iran's door to IAEA, suspended any communications, understandably so. And I think this is just the beginning. Either IAEA will get rid of its corrupt leadership and will undergo reforms, and so also OPCW and all the other so-called international organizations to regain trust again of the world community, or these organizations will just lose more and more members, let's say this way, and will lose relevance absolutely. To continue, dear friends, as I reported in previous days, unfortunately, Azerbaijani leadership escalated with Moscow on extreme levels. Currently, probably relationships between Russia and Azerbaijan are in its lowest level for quite a few decades at least, right? And everything started with the criminal investigation that Russian law enforcement agencies were conducting against their ethnic criminal gangs that were operating in Siberia, in Ekaterinburg, for example. And what was a criminal case, Azerbaijan transformed into a political crisis between the countries. Day before yesterday, I reported that Azerbaijani so-called law enforcement agencies raided the Sputnik Azerbaijan media outlet that is linked with the Russia Sputnik media outlet, arrested their staff, members of their media. Also, Azerbaijan arrested quite a number of Russian citizens, tortured them, and yesterday I shared photo and video footage of that, and well, seems like Baku is on a path to completely destroy relationships with Russia. From Russian leadership, by the way, I did not see even a single strong statement towards Azerbaijan. All the statements from Russian diplomats, Russian politicians are very diplomatic, and the Russian side is calling Azerbaijan to rethink its stance and bring back normality in relationships between the countries. But Baku not gonna listen, by the way. I think, and the point of no return has been crossed by Azerbaijani leadership at this point. Yesterday, as a form of next stage of escalation, even reports were coming in that Azerbaijan is planning to shut down all 340 Russian language schools in the country, although later on, officials in Azerbaijan denied these claims, denied this information. But nevertheless, Baku continues to escalate. And you know what is also interesting? This escalation is happening at the time when sort of secret summit of global freemasons were happening in Baku. I'm not joking, by the way. And on your screen right now, you see pictures of these freemasons, right, that were gathering in Baku. And well, which force is the main driving force, most powerful force among either Freemasons or the globalists, let's say? It's UK, right? It's British aristocracy, British royal family. And therefore, I mean, does anybody still has any doubts that behind this escalation between Russia and Azerbaijan is London? Has anybody has any doubts about that still? I'm absolutely convinced, by the way, that it's a London that is behind this escalation. And yesterday I explained why is that. I think British true leadership, not these puppets, by the way, that they put in different positions like prime minister and defense minister, foreign minister. Who are they? They are nobodies, right? True rulers of UK, they're afraid that they're gonna lose big time, right? Not just in Caucasus region where Azerbaijan is located, but also in Middle East and elsewhere too. And they are panicking. They are panicking now, especially after globalists and Zionists or their allies in US failed in their attempt to bring down Iran. Well, they are afraid that they're going to begin losing their positions, right, worldwide. And in Azerbaijan, by the way, you think which country is benefiting from Azerbaijani oil and gas riches? Partially, it's Azerbaijan. Yes, Azerbaijani elites, by the way. If you think ordinary people in Azerbaijan are thriving because of these riches, you are mistaken. It's elites, by the way, that are making billions. And also UK, also British elites, by the way, and main partner of a SOCAR energy company, Azerbaijani energy company that is operating with Azerbaijani energy riches. Main partner is a BP, right? And yes, London is afraid that they're gonna lose a big time, and London is activating its proxies, its proxy forces in Azerbaijan, in Turkey, by the way, and through Turkey in Central Asia also, right? And London wants basically to, if they're gonna lose positions, by the way, they will make sure that they're gonna left scorched earth behind them. That's what they're gonna do, by the way. And therefore, not just Azerbaijani leadership, but also a leadership of Central Asian Republic should be concerned with whom they are dealing with in regards to UK. They should be concerned very much, because yet again, if UK, British elites, let's say, gonna lose, then they're gonna leave behind them a scorched earth, right? And also, one should keep in mind here, friends, that as I said yesterday, I am 100% convinced that main reason why Macron called the Russian president was a situation with Azerbaijan. France, by the way, is a long-standing competitor, let's say, of British aristocracy, right? French elites. French masonry actually is the only more or less powerful group that is trying to compete with the British masonry that is most powerful, right? And French elites, French financial elites, energy companies, they are competing with Brits just about everywhere, right? In Mediterranean, in North Africa, by the way. Also, France is quite present in Southern Caucasus region, by the way, in Armenia, for example. And France wants to push aside UK and gaining a better position in Azerbaijan too, right? And therefore, I'm 100% convinced that Macron was asking green light from Putin to take some action against Aliyev regime and the forces that are behind this regime. And probably, this is my speculation, my guess, by the way, probably Macron received such a green light. And very soon we're going to see significant escalation between French elites and British elites, between French elites and globalists, right? And also, France will receive support from these so-called America First forces, because they are on the same page on that, right? They all are competing for better positions, and their major competitor is a UK and the globalist movement, right? So let's see how will things develop. But if anybody had any doubts that London was behind this escalation between Baku and Moscow, then they should think again, because there's too many indicators that it's definitely UK, British aristocracy, British so-called elites, secret services, and so on. Right. Let's continue with some more news. And I just mentioned that there is an increased confrontation, isn't it, inside the collective West, inside the Western ruling class, inside the globalists even, right? And on that very matter, I give you this news that EU blocks UK from joining pan-European trade network. And why is that? Not just because UK is not EU member state, by the way, but because of the competition, rivalry, and straight up hatred, by the way, that influential European elites have towards also very influential British elites, right? So the EU has refused to allow the UK join a streamlined network that offers lower tariffs to 20 countries that trade with the bloc. The Financial Times reported on Wednesday, citing officials. According to their article, the UK had sought to join the Pan-Euro-Mediterranean Convention established in 2012 to sign rules of origin across trade deals between the EU and the countries in Europe, North Africa, and Middle East. Their framework allows manufacturers to qualify for lower tariffs when using components sourced from the multiple member countries. And UK received no from Europe. This does not happen that often, by the way, right? Because one may argue that British elites are actually main driving force in Europe, most influential force in Europe, even though UK itself is not EU member state. But there is a clearly rivalry, isn't it? There is a clearly rivalry. More and more groups in Europe are trying to resist British dominance. And when it comes to France, by the way, I mean, French and French elites and British elites, they hate each other, literally hate each other for centuries, by the way, right? When I was living in UK, by the way, only hatred I see from ordinary Brits, by the way, was towards French. In a casual conversation, by the way, if topic of France was touched, I mean, it was no one was hesitating to mock France in all possible ways. By the way, right? They truly hate each other, and that's their attitude of Brits towards France. And I never lived in France, by the way, but I'm quite sure French have no any more sympathies towards Brits, right? Nothing to be said about elites, by the way, that truly hate each other, and their rivalry goes back into centuries, right? So yes, UK is kind of losing its positions. Globalists are losing their positions little by little. It might not be that visible for everybody, but process is there, right? And London is clearly panicking, by the way. London is clearly panicking. Globalists are panicking, and that's why they are beginning to escalate almost everywhere they can, right? And not just against Russia, while using their proxies and their influence, like they did in regards to Azerbaijan, but or like London does in Central Asian republics. But also London is escalating against US, against France, against collective West member states, right? And I remind you, dear friends, that UK orchestrated attacks on Caspian Pipeline Consortium, right? Several times, and they were using their Ukrainian proxies for that. And this was direct attack on US, right? On US interests. Because in Caspian, first of all, Caspian Pipeline Consortium is transferring mainly Kazakhstani oil, by the way. Some 99.5% of oil that they are transferring through their network is a Kazakhstani oil. It has nothing to do with Russia. Pipes are on Russian territory, but oil is from Kazakhstan. And one of the main shareholders in that consortium are, I believe, US and French companies. And also this confrontation is not just factual, by the way, but are in hot phase, when UK is actually targeting not just Russia, but also supposedly its own allies, US, France, and others, right? And this conflict is going to further escalate, by the way. This conflict is going to further escalate, and if somehow America First forces in US will truly manage to reclaim their country, right, and initiative, that's going to be a huge blow, by the way. That's going to be a massive blow to globalists and to main force behind the globalism, which is British aristocracy, royal family, and so on. Right? It's going to be a huge hit on London, by the way. Right? That's why globalists or London, by the way, through different means, are doing everything they can to, keep current administration in US busy with some topics that not necessarily has to be priority of the White House, but they are using their proxies. I mean, London is using, or globalists are using their assets in US, right, to divert attention or the focus of current administration from main topics towards some other stuff, so that somehow, I guess globalists are hoping that by doing so, they will reclaim control over the US. let's see. It might happen, by the way, because God knows how many assets globalists have among Republicans. Nothing to be said about Democrats, by the way. They are, assets, all of them, complete assets of globalists. And some might argue that even libertarians are globalist assets, right? Or assets of London. It's a very mixed up stuff there. But let's hope America First forces will reclaim their own country and will be charged once again of their own destiny, right? That will benefit, of course, US citizens, ordinary people there, and that will benefit rest of the world too, by the way, because since the Second World War, US has become gradually, but US eventually become a tool, right, in the hands of globalists, enforcer. And the US national interests were neglected almost completely. Isn't it? Our friends from US, by the way, can share their opinion. And I think they will agree on that US national interests were completely neglected because country was run not by patriots of the country, but by assets of some multinational groups, globalists, namely. Okay, let's continue, dear friends. Few more news, and I will end a new segment on that. And well, take a look at the disinformation, also a result of the globalists' influence on US dollar, by the way, US currency, which is a main reserve currency still in this world, enduring worst year since the 1973. And you think why? Exactly because of the foreign control of the country, exactly because US was used and abused by forces that have no care about America, by the way, and never did, right? And yet again, the only chance for US is this America First movement, if it will truly manage to reclaim initiative and control over their country. So the US dollar has fallen more than 10% against the major currencies in the first half of the 2025, marking its worst start to a year since the 1973. New York Times reported on Monday, citing trading data, and I guess situation for dollar not gonna improve anytime soon, because due to crazy policies of globalists and their controlled regimes all over the collective West, including due to globalists' influence in US, policies of Washington is as such for many years, right? That they are forcing basically countries worldwide to, get rid of dollars and begun trade between countries in national currencies, or to use some other currencies, by the way, right? Globalists themselves, globalists and their assets in the collective West, they are forcing, with their crazy policies, countries to ditch dollar, basically, also euro, and began trading in national currencies. And this process at this point probably is even unstoppable, because there is no trust in the Western financial and the banking system no more, isn't it? Because of its extreme weaponization by the globalists. It is what it is, and I guess the world cannot wait until BRICS will come up with their alternative reserve currency, which will make trade much easier, right, for the countries outside of the collective West, which is 80% of this world, by the way, right? So yes, bad news for US economy, for US financial systems, but yet again, what else one should expect when US is run by not the patriots of America and people, but by assets of their globalists and so on. Yet again, there is a chance. America First people, or America First movement, was never as close to to reclaim country as they are now, right? And maybe they will succeed. I don't know. Maybe they will succeed. TASS news agency, meanwhile, is reporting that Russian central bank sees inflation slowing faster than expected. The Bank of Russia sees inflation slowing faster than expected, but it is still above the target level of 4%, said Elvira Nabiulina, head of the Central Bank of Russian Federation, speaking at the Financial Congress of the Bank of Russia. And by the way, this is a good news that, and I can confirm, by the way, inflation is definitely dropping. It is clearly definitely below double digits now. And prices are dropping, by the way, on certain items that were inflated tremendously, right? Not because necessarily some economical issues or supply chain issues, but because, in my personal opinion, because of the cartel dealings of the big businesses, right? And at some point, probably state institutions said, you know what? I mean, you're just messing around too much, and act accordingly, and well, prices began dropping, by the way, right? So yes, inflation is in check for sure, and that is a good news, because maybe this month, by the way, in July, central bank will drop interest rate for 2%, for 2 point, and I would not be surprised at all if in August central bank will drop interest rates for another 2 point, right? And towards the end of this year, interest rate of central bank might actually be, somewhere around 12 to 15%, which is going to be not bad. I still high, by the way, don't get me wrong, but nevertheless, obviously, I mean, 12 or 15% is much better for economy, for people than current 20%, right? So it's a 20% now, isn't it, or 21? So it's a huge difference. I'm optimistic, by the way. I'm optimistic that before end of this year, central bank gonna drop significantly interest rate, which will obviously be very helpful for Russian economy. And by the way, interest rates are this high not because of inflation, but because the Russian economy was overheating. Western so-called elites were expecting that Russian economy will get destroyed, right? Due to this 30 to 40,000 sanctions that was imposed on Russia. But exactly opposite had happened. Russian economy accelerated, and so much so that economy was beginning overheating, right? And this is also dangerous stuff, by the way. And the economical bloc took some measures to cool down economy, and they did it quite successfully. And I think it is well possible that we will see now significant drop in interest rates, right? By 2 basic points every month for next 2 or 3 months, until interest rate will reach, from 10 to 15, 20 to 16% maybe. Let's see, by the way. And well, this is it for the news segment. And was there any super chat? Banzo Beans, hello John, thank you for your super chat. Camera image looks good, perhaps slightly overexposed, but it looks good either way. Okay, I will try to. Yes, I mean, Anya, my wife, is also telling me that it's too bright. So I will deal with it. I might try right now, Okay, after stream. It's better if I will do it after stream. So, okay, I see what you mean, dear friends. So So there was no super chat more. Okay, there was no additional super chat. And dear friends, let's have exchange of opinions. Now, hopefully you find a new segment informative and useful. And what time is now? It's like 2:07. So yes, let's take some 15-20 minutes for a little chat. And then, as I said, first time in a long time, by the way, we have some sunny day today, and I will definitely use this opportunity to make some videos for Patreon and Boosty communities as extra. Let's see. In June, by the way, we didn't really feel summer, and maybe it will be that it will stay the same way in July too. Quite a cool summer we have this year. Cool, I mean low temperatures. And dear friends, subscribe to my Patreon and Boosty pages. I mean, either on Patreon or Boosty, to make sure that this project is safe. I need to double income, right? Just to be in safe place. And I'm trying hard to encourage members of our community to subscribe on Patreon, because Patreon gives me opportunity to know, Patreon and Boosty, to know what kind of funds do I have for next month, right? And currently, all income that I have through Patreon and Boosty is just about enough to pay for rent. And I'm for everything else, by the way, I'm relying on donations, which makes my life extremely stressful. Understandably so, because you never know. You might have today some donation, you might have nothing tomorrow. And that's why I think these fundraising streams might work on Sundays. I'm gonna try maybe this Sunday, by the way. I'm gonna try, and hopefully our community will support her. Let's go for questions. Yet again, dear friends, capital Q or the capital letters will make it easier for me to notice the question, because I'm scrolling chat as fast as I can. Unfortunately, StreamYard is not showing me a super chat as a super chat, by the way, as a sticker to notice, and that's why Anya, my wife, is showing me on the phone. I see a question. Cassandra Corser is commenting. I think you might investigate what happened under Trump's last term. Trump was a character assassinated by Zelensky in a recorded conversation between him and Trump, where Trump attempted to fire Nuland. Okay. Thank you for your comment. I definitely need to pay attention to this topic for sure. Oh, thank you. Also, dear friends, we have a comment from Kate Stone. The main reason the US thinks and behaves the way it does is because it's never been invaded militarily. I mean, you have a good point, Kate. Thank you for sharing. Yes, of course, this security that US is enjoying due to its geography definitely has something to do with their, has some influence over the mindset in US, right? On people and elites. I mean, circumstances in which you are living, of course, will influence you. That's for sure. Or environment that you are living in will undoubtedly have some influence. And in continuation of the topic, Kate Stone is also commenting that produces arrogance, ignorance, and actions with impunity. Yes, I agree with you. And Kate Stone is also commenting the real unemployment rate in USA is around 20%. That's quite a huge number, isn't it? I'm a bit surprised to see this information. It's bad, man. If unemployment rate is somewhere around 15-20%, that's just too bad. Here in Russia, by the way, unemployment rate is lowest in record. It's not even 1% or something, around 1%, by the way. Anybody who wants to work will find the work, by the way. One of the reasons why economy was overheating was that there was not enough hands to work, right? There was a high demand, and economy, I mean, all the businesses were working and still continue to work 24/7, right? And they needed more staff to do more job, and I mean, there was deficit of manpower or workforce, and still is, by the way, still is. That's why millions of people from neighboring countries are coming in and working here and finding job quite easily. Also, Jim Passarotti, Jim Passarotri. Sorry, dear friends, if I'm misspelling your nicknames. Is asking Levan, how does Middle Eastern instability affects Russia? Well, one might think that there is no direct link, but of course there is. By the way, if globalists would manage to provoke regional war in the Middle East, you think these millions and millions of people potentially gonna go where, right? And towards Russia, towards Europe, towards every possible direction, right? And that might create significant issues. Also, by the way, whenever there is a collapse of law in any area, by the way, eventually all sorts of criminals, radicals, extremists are taking over, right? And that will generate significant risks for Central Asia and also for Russia. So nothing to be said about minuses in regards to collapse of economical relationships with countries in the Middle East if some regional war will happen. So stability, Russia is interested in stability in the Middle East, absolutely. And that's why I was saying that Moscow and Beijing probably will do whatever it takes to make sure that globalists not going to be able to provoke regional war there. On surface, I mean, if you're living here in Russia, I mean, you're not going to notice any link, maybe, between the situation in the Middle East or any other part of this world and the situation here in Russia. But there is a links, by the way. There is a links and risks too, of course. And let's end, dear friends. Sorry if I miss your questions, dear friends. Question from Trevor Wilson. Hello, Levan. Where about did you live in UK? Well, and dear friends, I have great memories from UK. Nothing bad to say. I was a younger student. I was living in Leeds for some time and also in London, by the way. And unfortunately, I did not use this opportunity. I lived there for 4 or 5 years, right? Uh, and then I just get tired, by the way. I was thinking that, you know what, I learned language, I learned some stuff that I was there for, and it is time to go back. My people that I knew, by the way, were kind of freaking out. I mean, why are you gonna go back? What are you doing and stuff? But because they are used to attitude when people are coming in UK to stay forever, and I never planned to stay in UK. By the way, I was there to. I was young, right? To have some new experiences and to learn, by the way, and to go back, right? So yes, I was living in Leeds, a great city, by the way, great student city. It was at the time, and I think it is still a young city. Nice town, and also London, by the way. And I feel sorry now. I regret that I did not use this opportunity to travel all over the UK. By the way, I traveled to some cities, but I mean, few cities really. I had to go to Liverpool, obviously. I mean, legendary city. Manchester, few others, but I never went to Scotland, unfortunately, which is shame. I mean, how could I? But I mean, I was young and stupid, by the way, and I just didn't bother, which is crazy, man. I regret that now. I had the opportunity to just go and travel, man, and see as much as you can, right? It's memories, man. But I was young and stupid, man. So, and as I said, I have great memories, by the way, from UK. I have nothing bad to say about my experience there, right? Great people, friendly. It was good. Some are saying that, well, islanders have a specific mentality. They don't really like no one. I don't know. I lived there for, I don't know, 4 years, 5 years, and I enjoy myself. I enjoy communication with the locals. It was all good. So maybe some other people had different experience. I don't know, but, Also, I see a question: can Putin become strong like de Gaulle and change his position on settler colonists in Palestine? If not, I think Middle East might destroy Russia. Well, I mean, Russia is quite clear as far as I can tell. Question from Cater Mix. Russia is quite clear that Moscow is opposing all these illegal settlements, all the criminal actions that Israel as a state commits against Palestinians. I mean, what else can Russia do, really? I mean, unfortunately, Russia don't has as much leverage over the Israeli regime as Western countries do, because Israel does not rely on Russian supplies of weapons or anything, really. But Israel does relies heavily, almost entirely, on weapons and money supply from the West, right, from NATO member states, and that's why I think European countries and the US are in a position to actually influence policies of their Netanyahu. Moscow can, make statements or condemn criminal actions, and that's what Moscow does, by the way, from capital here and also from UN. That's what Moscow does, criticizes all the criminal actions of Israel, but to truly influence policies of Israel, you have to have a leverage. And unfortunately, Russia has no such leverage, right? In realistic terms, West does, because all the weapons, maybe not all, but majority of weapons that Israel uses coming from NATO member states, all the economy and Israel's economy and financial system is completely dependent on the West, right? So West can actually influence the situation and take a strong stand, but they are refusing. And when it comes to Middle East, I guess you mean instability in the Middle East might destroy Russia. I don't think that will destroy Russia. I don't think anything will destroy Russia. It's not happening, by the way. Russia is something special and extraordinary. But instability in the Middle East definitely can cause problems for other parts of the region, other parts of this world, and countries in these other parts, including Russia. Instability is bad for everybody, of course. And when it comes to strength of leaders, you compare Putin to de Gaulle. Well, de Gaulle is a legendary leader of France, of course, that I believe was ousted, by the way, as a result of one of the first color revolutions, maybe, that was orchestrated by US. I think US was behind what had happened with de Gaulle. And he was a strong leader. He was a strong leader, war hero, and a strong leader. And Putin is, by the way, strong leader too. He's if he looks, too soft for many, or his decisions. If there is expectation that Putin should act much tougher, right? And I can see the logic behind it. I myself quite often saying that, come on, when Putin will finally authorize to take some strong actions and stuff. But this is an emotional discussion, right? In practical terms, Putin's decisions are based on information that he has, right? Information that we will never know, literally never, right? Because it's classified, right? If you have no authorization, you're not gonna get to know anything from there, right? And his decisions are based on this information, by the way. We should always keep that in mind, isn't it? We are ordinary citizens, and we, our judgment based on our best judgments are based only on information that we are receiving from open sources, right? And the leaders of the countries, they have a whole different stack of information that they are operating with. So therefore, I don't think Putin is a soft leader, rather. He has a high class as a politician, and he is not acting like Trump does, right? He's not acting tough or something like, or like a gangster, right? He might have some moments, especially in early years, but in general, he is acting as a top class professional, right? As president should, by the way. Let's be real. Presidents are not for a show. They have a job to do, right? And someone should tell that to a Trump, who spends too much time on True Social and on acting, by the way. My personal opinion, I don't know if you share this opinion or not, but thank you for a question. And dear friends, let's end this live stream now. One more question. Sandy Brown, Levan, why don't you monetize your channel? Even the Duran has. What's the problem? I'm from Russia. That is the issue for YouTube, by the way. My channel is registered as a Russian channel, and Russian channels are not monetized on YouTube. Rumble has no issue with that. So that's why my channel on Rumble monetized, and members of community can use super chat feature there, or premium subscription. But on YouTube, whole different story. They don't like channels from Russia, especially in this segment of news and political commentary, and they are suppressing, by the way, my channel big time. When last time you see in recommendations when you open YouTube, when you last time see my videos, or when you last time receive notification? Vast majority. I always pay attention when I see comments when members of our community are telling me that they've been surprised that they actually received notification first time in very long time. That's what shadow ban does, by the way. My channel is in shadow ban, and my videos are suppressed. That's why I'm asking always in every video to click that like button, leave some commentary in the comment section, because this might help to influence algorithm, so that videos might reach wider audience that way. And sometimes it works, by the way, and more often not, but sometimes it does. And one more question. I see question from Banzo Beans, our moderator. When the last time you went to see Bolshoi Theater show? Well, John, unfortunately, I have never been in Bolshoi. We tried, by the way, last year, we tried this year and year before to buy tickets during the New Year celebrations. But unfortunately, it's not that easy, man. It's not that easy, right? Saturn tickets cost tremendous money. We cannot afford that. And, when there is some tickets that, we might think to buy, you have to be extremely lucky to be among those few that will manage to buy first, to get it first, right? So unfortunately, we never been in Bolshoi, and we want to, and maybe next year. It's wonderful. I will make video, by the way, if we will get to Bolshoi. From outside, I filmed Bolshoi many times, isn't it? In videos for Patreon and Boosty. But from within, if we will get tickets and if we went to Bolshoi, then I'm definitely gonna make video. By the way, it's beautiful. It's absolutely stunning. By the way, I have seen photos of Bolshoi, some videos. It's stunning. It's a legendary theater, of course. Historical one, and on Patreon, by the way, I actually devoted me and my daughter, a journalist who studies on Faculty of Journalism, we devoted a separate video to Bolshoi, right, to history of Bolshoi, on Patreon and Boosted. But unfortunately, we did not get inside. But maybe this year we will be lucky and we will get tickets, so that all of us, whole family, will go to Bolshoi. Let's see. So, dear friends, I will end there, if I may. Thank you, John. Thank you, John, for your help, questions. Many thanks to everyone, dear friends, for attention and support, for your time. Have a wonderful day, and take care. Bye for now.